You remember the song Lady in Red? Well, we are no longer talking about the lady in red, but rather the lady in white. This, as the White Dress Project from the United States tours South Africa to raise awareness of fibroids. Now, did you know that about 20 to 30% of our women in South Africa are affected by fibroids? And they are abnormal growths of tumors that develop in or on a woman's uterus. Sometimes these tumors become quite large and cause severe abdominal pain, heavy bleeding, and even infertility. Joining us in studio is the founder of the White Dress Project, Tanika Gray-Falbram, as well as, good morning,
Good morning.
As well as Dr. Gary Sutwarts. Now, you both are here in studio now today, and you're wearing the white dress.
Yes, proudly.
I want you to tell me about the White Dress Project, and how do you link it to fibroids?
So as a child of a woman who survived two sets of twins, losing two sets of twins, it was very important to me to share my legacy of my mother and to share what I've been going through with fibroids. I've suffered with fibroids for very long. As you mentioned, abdominal bleeding, heavy abdominal pain, and I felt that I had suffered in silence for so long with the epidemic. So I felt like I needed to do something about it because there were so many women who were suffering and didn't say anything about it. So I wanted to do something and raise awareness for it.
So how did the white dress came about?
So the white dress came about because I could never wear white. Because of the symptoms of fibroids, you always have heavy bleeding, heavy abdominal bloating, so you just never feel comfortable wearing white. And, you know, while it may seem something simple, you know, it proved to me how I had sacrificed my quality of life. And I wanted to make sure that that was something that was not going to hold us back anymore. So the white serves as empowerment, as hope. Obviously, when you're having these symptoms, you don't feel comfortable wearing white, but it proves empowerment and hope for women suffering with this epidemic.
Doctor, the fibroids is not a topic that many want to talk about and to give insight into, especially for women and even men. So talk to me about it and how do you deal with it?
Thank you, Elvis. Thanks for spreading this message. We at the Fibroids Treatment Clinic realized that, you know, the conversation needs to, you know, come out, that many people, many millions of South African women are affected by fibroids. So when we were contacted by the White Dress Project to be a local partner to spread this message, we jumped on that opportunity. And what I realized in my conversation with women and with people affected, that whenever I had a conversation, there was often a man involved, as you mentioned. So there's a husband or boyfriend or a partner, and they're often the ones who are starting the conversation. They're saying this is not normal. You shouldn't be so short of breath. Your life shouldn't be affected like this. Surely we can do something. They're going out onto the internet and finding a solution instead of women who are just suffering, and they're suffering terribly. And that's why we applaud Tanika and her bravery to come out and talk in a public space like this about her journey.
Right.
So you'll be touring South Africa for
Yes.
about a month. You're from the US. What do you, how will you engage the communities that you'll be engaging with?
So I'm really excited to get to meet South African people. I think it's important that we share our stories and know that we have similar, you know, stories to share. I think it's important that, you know, we've partnered with the Fibroid Treatment Center to make sure that we reach women. You know, we're not that different. We're not different at all, in my opinion. So it's important to share the stories and understand that we need to advocate for one another.
Doctor, what causes fibroids?
So the question is, we don't know exactly what causes fibroids, but we do know that they are hormonally sensitive, so young women don't have them, and as they progress in age with hormones, they will grow. There's definitely genetic factors. Women of West African origin, African heritage, definitely have more aggressive fibroids. They come in with very large fibroids that recur. They end up with multiple operations and infertility. And you can imagine our society not being able to have children, having a hysterectomy when you're very young. I mean, it's going to be a life devastating event.
Now, Tanika, you'll also be targeting men with this particular campaign as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important to connect with men because obviously, you know, the family structure is important. And when you're in a relationship and have, you know, the issues of fibroids or symptomatic fibroids, it's important to be able to talk to your partner. And it's also important for your partner to be able to understand what you're experiencing. So I think it's very important to include men in the conversation.
How does it affect relationships that you've observed?
Oh, I can tell you stories, so many stories, but I think most importantly, having the support of your mate is most important. It affects relationships because when you are bleeding heavily, when you don't feel comfortable in your clothes as a woman, you know, that can just affect the structure of a relationship.
And the pressure of, you know, having to bear children, not being able to bear children, going through multiple operations and the pain. So it really is quite a destructive process.
Doctor, talk to me about treatment, and is fibroids preventable?
So the first answer to are they preventable, the answer is no. There are lots of theories on things that might cause them to get worse. Definitely hormones, you know, things like the pill and so on can cause them to grow, pregnancy causes them to grow, but there's nothing you can do when you got them. So the question then is, most of them don't need treatment. So most women with fibroids get away with it. So they may need some painkillers, some iron supplements, but then there's a large group of women whose symptoms are so bad they need to do something about them. This is where the white dress comes in. So they've got symptoms that affect their lives, and they wearing white is just a symbol, but it affects their lives in many, many ways. They have crazy cravings for clay and other things. It affects the work. And their self-worth. Right. So what do you do about them? Well, traditionally we would cut them out. So that would be surgery of hysterectomy or myomectomy, where you actually remove the fibroids by surgery. But in the last 25 years, we've discovered ways to do it with much less invasion. And that's part of the message that we're trying to tell women, is there are less invasive techniques. The technique that I specialize in is a uterine artery embolization, where we don't, through a tiny little hole in the wrist or in the groin, we can get into the arteries that supply the fibroids and inject tiny particles, and they shrink and die. So that avoids the surgery. Now, it's not right for all women, but at least if you've got the diagnosis, you're with a good gynae, you can show the range of options and make a decision. The women are empowered to make a decision that's really right for them.
Talk to me about early detection. How important is that for women?
Early detection is key. It's important to recognize the symptoms that you're having early because you can mentally prepare for what is happening in your body. And I always advocate that a woman should be her own best health advocate. You should go to the doctor armed with questions, ready to ask, so that you're prepared for what's happening in your body.
How do